So hello and welcome to the first of many video vlogs on Voices for Scotland, and we are going to be speaking to one of the
campaign organisers, yeah.
Campaign organisers. See, yeah. I'm doing brilliant now. Campaign organisers in a wee minute, but I'll let you know a bit about myself. My name is McEwan. I am 37 years of age. I don't know why I said my age to you. From East Renfrewshire, and I'm a disability campaigner and advocate because there's so many issues affecting people with disabilities now, especially in the light of the coronavirus. I'm also a freelance journalist as well, where I write blogs and columns for newspapers, and I have been on TV a few times as well. So yeah, that's enough about me. I'm going to hand you over to one of the Alan now.
Yeah, I'm Alan White. I'm one of the campaign organisers at Voices for Scotland. Working with Voices for Scotland for about a year or so now, and kind of a strange route to being a campaigner, independence campaigner. When I went to uni to study zoology of all things, and then I ended up working for an environmental NGO for about 5 years or so, working in parliamentary affairs and then moving into policy. And then after that, I gave all that up for a little while, and then did a few various things. I was a postman. I worked in Tesco for a while doing delivery driving, and then I'd moved away, and then I came back to Glasgow, and I went to Glasgow School of Art and did a master's in sound design and filmmaking. Then I started working as an artist, working with young people, particularly in the East End of Glasgow. So young people from sort of disadvantaged backgrounds, who'd dropped out of school at a young age, and we did these sort of employability stroke art courses, really to give them an opportunity to make something better, to maybe change the trajectory of their lives, which was great. A really rewarding job, but one of the things about that was you saw firsthand the impact that austerity and things were having, and part of me was there to help the young people and help them get into college or get a job or whatever it might be, but another part of me got really angry and wanted to do something about it. And then I saw this opportunity with Voices for Scotland, and I thought it was a great opportunity to get involved and actually try and do stuff that can make a change. So yeah, that's how I am where I am, I guess.
So yeah, I was going to ask you next about how did you get involved in Voices for Scotland, but I think that you answered that.
Yeah.
But so I take it like you've always been a big campaigner, and I know that. I mean, we'll get to Voices for Scotland in a minute or two, but just let us know about why like you wanted to maybe engage with the work that Voices are doing.
Well, I mean, I suppose for a lot of people, their sort of journey to being an independence supporter goes back to around about the build up to the last referendum in 2014. And for me, I guess, I don't know, I guess the thing that switched me on to independence was, I don't know, I was trying to think about it earlier on if I was always an independence supporter, and I don't think I was. I think I just, there was maybe a time when it didn't seem like a possibility, or it didn't seem like it could be a reality. But But that's what the campaign in 2014 and the lead up to 2014 did, was it made it apparent that this was a possibility and it was a reality, that independence could actually happen. But wrapped up in that was what independence actually means. And for me, it's like the opportunity to make something better, to make changes, to make the lives of the people in this country better. And that's why I wanted to get involved. But specifically with Voices for Scotland, I as I say, I saw the job advertised, and I didn't really know much about the organisation before that. But it's exactly the sort of campaign that I want to be involved with, because to be honest with you, I'm not particularly interested in party politics. I think there's a lot of issues around party politics and it becoming a bit of a game about how political parties play against each other. And often the people that lose most from that game are members of the public, the people that need governments and politicians to stand up for them. They're the big losers in that game. So yeah, big independent supporter for a long time now, but not so keen on party politics. And that's why I was really, really interested in Voices for Scotland and what Voices for Scotland wants to do. And it puts people first, and it's about giving people, the public, a platform to talk about what's important to them and talk about the country that they want to see and what an independent Scotland looks like to them. So it was really, really appealing to me. That's why I wanted to be involved with Voices for Scotland, to just to be part of that. I think, yeah, totally.
I think this is the first one that we've did, and hopefully we'll get good feedback to do many, many more of these, and we can go into detail about what independence would look like for everybody, men, women, disability, or whatever. But this is basically just to kind of like test the waters and just to kind of like introduce yourself, Aaron, and also myself as well. But more so for you, and more so to maybe advertise it or give Voices for Scotland a platform. So can you tell us a wee bit about why Voices for Scotland got set up? I think you gave it away there about independence, but why was it important for Voices to start? I take it was 2014, yeah?
No, Voices for Scotland was formed in 2018, actually. So Voices for Scotland was actually set up by the Scottish Independence Convention, the SIC. So the SIC is, for anybody who doesn't know, is the sort of umbrella group for loads of different organisations. So the SNP and the Green Party are voting members of the SIC. So is Commonweal, so is like Labour for Independence, NHS for Yes, the Radical Independence Campaign, SNP Students, Women for Independence. The list goes on and on and on. So the SIC is this big grouping of independent supporters, and that was I think it's the only group like that, and certainly the biggest. And Voices for Scotland was set up as the sort of campaigning arm of all those different organisations. So, of course, across Scotland, we've got different groups, lots of different Yes groups are supportive of independence. But this group, Voices for Scotland, is the sort of campaigning arm of the Scottish Independence Convention. So it's got the backing of all those different groups. It's autonomous in many ways, but that's where it came from. And I think a big part of the idea about setting up Voices for Scotland was that it wasn't party political. It's a civic organisation that really does put people and their stories at the forefront of everything that we're all about. So that's why it was set up, and that's where it came from. But this is a you're not, I guess you're not really interviewing me here. This is a conversation. So what about you? How did you get interested and involved with independence?
I was a bit like you, like, but I went back maybe, well, 2014 when the referendum, right? Because I wasn't like political. I wouldn't sit down and watch, First Minister's question time or Prime Minister's question time because I thought, well, what the hell are they talking about? And then when I saw this coming up in 2014, I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, because of the way that I would see it as, I don't know if you're the same, but the way I would see it as, if we get independence, hopefully sooner rather than later,
Mm.
then it's a chance for us to start again.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, um, I'm not speaking about the coronavirus, but before that, it wasn't an equal society.
Mm.
So we've got that opportunity for us to get independence for a better society for young people, old people, disabled people, ethnic minority people, anybody with these kind of diverse kind of backgrounds.
Mm.
So then on 2014, I got more involved in my local branch
Yeah.
in the East Renfrewshire, and I started to go out canvassing and all that kind of stuff. So that's really what I kind of got involved in. And I think when we get the no vote, I think it made people more determined to say, well, we're not giving up to you, this is our human rights. And that's when I got engaged in the whole politics world. Like I see myself. Well, I work from home anyway, but I see myself kind of like watching Scottish Minister, Hollywood
Mm.
on the YouTube channel and stuff like that, and you know, it's like I wouldn't have imagined myself kind of like doing that
Mm.
4 or 5, maybe 10 years ago. But now, if I'm working from home, I do my work and that's on in the kind of background, and I know more about politics now than I did back then.
I suppose that's one of the best things that came out of, for me anyway, I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people, but one of the best things that came out of the referendum campaign in 2014 was the engagement in politics. Like, you remember at the time, like everybody was just absolutely buzzing, like talking about politics all the time, like at the bus stop. Like I was out doing campaigning in Glasgow and like Buchanan Street and going around the doors, like handing out leaflets and stuff like that. But no matter where you went, like everybody was talking about it, and everybody got engaged, and they were talking about like complex sort of like policy areas and stuff like that. But I think that's one of the best legacies that's happened. The people are much more engaged and much more informed, which
Yeah,
it
I
can only be a
mean,
good thing.
what's that?
It can only be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it got more people like me because I was like that as well, kind of like engaged in politics as well, and I did do a bit of work for the Yes. I think that the Yes kind of HQ was in Glasgow, so I done a few articles for the website and stuff like that. I think it was ran by somebody called Jenkins. I can't remember his first name.
Claire
Uh,
Jenkins.
yeah, so he was kind of like heading that up and stuff like that. So, and then at that time, um, I flew my journalism work that I do. I did a few articles for the Sunday Herald, and it was on poverty in Glasgow. You know how like food banks and you know I don't know about you, but there's sometimes it's like food banks and Quick 2020 don't really sit together because you would think food banks would be 50, 70, well, 60 years ago, maybe more, but no, and this kind of like generation, you know.
You know, I don't know. It's a yeah. I totally agree with you. But what I worry about a lot actually is that um, people talk about food banks a lot, and they talk about inequality a lot. In the same way, to an extent that people talk about, when you hear about wars that are happening abroad, and you hear like 100 people died or 1,000 people died, it doesn't. They become numbers. They don't become actual people. In the same way that people talk about food banks, they talk about in the last year the demand for food banks has doubled, and it's quite easy for a lot of people to see that in the news, read it in the paper, or see it on Twitter, and not actually make that connection. But going back to something that I mentioned earlier on about when I was working with young people, like it was so difficult to see like a young person walk into the workshop that we were in with like when they were hungry and they didn't have any money and they were wearing dirty clothes and stuff like that. That's the reality. That's what poverty actually is. And it's a really it's a difficult thing for me to see, but I can't even imagine what it's like for that young person and the many others like them in Glasgow and in Aberdeen and Edinburgh and Dundee and all over Scotland to actually live that life. That's the reality of their lives every day. It's not a news story about food banks. It's not a news story about poverty. The reality is a really hard life for young people that could and should be in school, young people that are having like opportunities taken away from them every single day. That's not right.
No.
And and it's a really it's a difficult thing to even talk about, just like seeing it. But a word that you used earlier on, and a word that I used earlier on is opportunity, and that's where I see. That's what I see in Scottish in independence for Scotland, is the opportunity to make things better. I think anybody who says that independence is the solution to all problems is completely misguided. It's not. For me anyway. It's the opportunity to make things better, to implement change that improves the life of people across Scotland and makes society more equal. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, when you were talking about that, obviously we could go on for ages about this, but obviously we can. But like when we speak about basic human rights, I would say food and housing would be up there as like number one, number two, or maybe not number them at all.
Yeah.
It's basic things. And stuff, and yeah, it's kind of quite kind of hard to believe that we're still speaking about it and trying to eradicate food banks. I mean, I'm watching I won't mention the programme's name, but I'm watching a programme in Yorkshire. Probably I've gave the name away now, and I've never seen inside a food bank before, but anyway, so last week this woman went to a food bank and it was hard to watch as well, because you would think, because this woman was about 50, going into a food bank with her children.
Yeah.
Bag enough going herself, but with a whole family, I think, sadly, 2 or 3 kids, and going into the food bank, and the woman said, right, so what you're looking for and stuff like that, and so we might come back onto that on a different vlog, because it's really a kind of big issue, and it's a very dark issue as well. And as I was saying, it's a kind of human right, and if you take people's food away from them, well, and I suppose it's like making people homeless as well. If you take them away, then what chance have we got?
I know. I think. I mean, we'll definitely come back to this again. And maybe another podcast or another time. But I think as well, it's good. Like, obviously, Voices for Scotland, as I said, it's about people, members of the public and other supporters, like, telling us what they think as well. So if people want to get in touch, if you're listening to this, you can get in touch with us at on Twitter and on Facebook at Voices for Scott. At Voices for Scott. So just you'll find us. But yeah, it'd be good like people like leaving us their thoughts and stuff about these sorts of issues, and because again, a lot of discussions that people have about independence, they want to talk about like the process involved with it. They want to talk about Article 30, and they want to talk about, will Boris Johnson, let us have a referendum, stuff like that. And that's fine. Like those discussions are valid and they need to be had. Again, it's just a personal thing, but I want to talk about like what independence actually means for Scotland and what opportunities that presents, what challenges it presents as well. Because there'll definitely be challenges involved as well. But that's the thing. That's one of the things that I really like to talk about with people as much as I can, is what independence actually means. And what about you though, Michael? What are your I don't know, it sounds a bit silly saying like your hopes and dreams for independence, but where do you think opportunity lies? I mean, obviously you do a lot of work. You're a disability campaigner and stuff like that, and I don't know if there's any sort of specific challenges around that, or more broadly, where do you see the big opportunities?
Oh God, that's a separate one in itself, because disability is a bit like when we were talking about food banks. That's a human right, and I've not got it in front of me at the moment, but there's a whole massive gap in terms of employing somebody with a disability. It's shocking, Alan, for this day and age and stuff. And I would like it to be an equal society for everyone. Obviously, I have lived with a disability. I mean, what I say to people is, I was born with a disability and I'll die with a disability, kind of thing, Not to be morbid when I say that, but yeah, there's a whole. It's there's a big comparison when you speak about people with a disability or mental health issue compared to the general Joe public, in terms of jobs, in terms of social care, in terms of getting the right payments as well. That's why you must commend the Scottish Government for getting the Social Security Scotland, and at the beginning, like, they were contacting people, or else people was contacting them about, because they set up. I don't know if you've heard of it, about the experience panels, and no, and basically what the experience panels is for people who come in to help the government design the Social Security benefit system. Obviously, most of the benefits are with Westminster now. I think we've only got about 3 or 4, or maybe 5, but we've not got a lot. Hopefully, one day when we get independence, we will have our own social security system, and I think it's in a programme for government as well about Scotland should really have their own social care agency.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's run in Scotland, not miles away, and not for people telling disabled people what to do, even though they haven't saw people with a disability, especially when it comes on to benefits as well, like the old stupid ATOS assessments.
That's exactly what I was thinking when you were saying that. I was just thinking of the shocking stories that we've heard,
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's been highlighted in the papers, but that's on the scratch and the surface. I bet you when you go on the net, you'll find millions and millions of stories as well. But yeah, so I would like to see in an independent Scotland, everybody being equal and not fighting for basic things like food or housing or jobs or whatever. Because I mean, as I always say, that disabled people or ethnic minority people or whatever, it doesn't really define who you are. I might be the most talented person in the world, but people still classify me as, oh yeah, Michael's got a disability, but like that's only like a label, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
Do you find that a lot, that people like define you by your disability and not like who you are and what your skills are, what your talent is and stuff?
So, I mean, when it comes to my work,
Yeah.
I think it's frustrating,
Mm.
right? But it's not because I'm disabled. It's me getting frustrated is a bit kind of, oh, I know someday I can get him a job. You know, it's like it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Aye.
Stuff like that. And I've got to make connections myself
Mm.
in a way. And don't get me wrong. A couple of weeks ago, I was so not so much down about it, but I was like, why is there's no opportunities and stuff like that. And I know people's got the special employers has got, and it's just saying it's a coronavirus. But my biggest argument with that is when you're trying to get people with a disability into employment and you're coming up with a stupid feeble, it's just what have you been saying for 20 years then? Because like the coronavirus hasn't been about for 20 years, and before that people would say, well, can you do the job, but we can't pay you for it, or
Oh, really?
something like that. And yeah, it's kind of like a difficult one, right? Because I'm trying to persuade. I mean, that's the whole point. Maybe going into journalism work or being on panel events to speak up for people that hasn't really got a voice, but we should always have a voice and stuff. So I know that's a kind of messy answer that you were looking for.
No, it's not. I mean that it I think it sums up nicely because you like you're quite happy and confident to speak out about these sorts of issues, and I think in a lot of ways that can be inspiring to other people. And actually, just to sort of tie that back into Voices for Scotland, what we're doing is that we are really here to act as a platform for other people. So we've started doing these events. We have two sorts of events really. We've got the get together event, which is just a sort of open forum for people to come together and talk about the things that are important to them. And a lot of times, we pick different issues to talk about every week, and we might talk around that. But the conversation obviously goes in different down different avenues. But what's really good about that is people will come on like the Zoom chat and they'll tell us stories about what's really important to them in their community, or the reasons why they are independent supporter, or whatever it might be. And that's really inspirational, and it helps other people as well. So like you're doing in terms of disability rights and stuff like that, you're putting your voice out there, and that's inspiring others to either talk about it or feel empowered. And it's the same as with with what we were doing with independence, is that we're giving people a platform to talk about it. Because there might be some people on those calls and on the Zoom meetings that don't really want to talk, they just want to observe. But when they can hear other people saying the things that they are thinking, you realise that you're not alone. And it's like building a community, and we do that through our voices, and we do that through sharing our ideas and our hopes and aspirations, and for Scotland really. So it's a really really nice thing to do, a really powerful thing to do as well, I think. So yeah, so it's good. So we have those get together events, and we're also doing other events that are like in conversation events. So we had Elaine C. Smith the other week, and well, I don't know when this podcast is going to go out actually, but Thursday night with David Heyman and Chris Dolan, and then we've got Sarah Sheridan, Jeff Palmer, Jerry Asan. I don't know. I'm probably missing some out as well, but anyway, yeah. But it's just, yeah, I think it's really important that people have the opportunity to listen, but and to speak as well, because it is inspiring. It does help people sort of formulate ideas and gives them confidence as well to talk about the things that are important.
I think one thing I forgot to mention really quickly, Alan, right, and it's partly my fault, because before the whole lockdown and all that, right, I was portraying myself as, yeah, Michael, I'm disabled. I can comment on different disability issues. But it wasn't until I was speaking to somebody that you might know, but I won't mention their name, that she said to me, Michael, you're a journalist. And I was like that. You know what? She's right, and I don't know why I'm thinking. I don't know why I never thought that before. And the point that she was trying to make was, in the kind of media industry as well, they kind of box you in a way. They say Michael's disabled. He can only speak about the Paralympics and the benefits issue and all that. But the point that she was trying to make was, Michael, you can speak about mainstream stuff as well. You don't really need to speak about disability issues or and stuff like that. And I came out of that meeting and I was saying to myself, you know what, she's right, but it's partly me, because before lockdown, I was saying to people, yeah, I can comment on this, and this. But I'm using the whole kind of like semi-lockdown, if you want to call it, because they're not in a full lockdown now, about I don't want to see reborn myself, because that sounds a bit cheesy, but you know what I mean? Kind of like rebranding, that's a right word to say, kind of saying, you know, put myself out there saying, hi, I'm Michael, I'm a journalist. Nothing about disability or not. Don't get me wrong, I'm not ashamed to be disabled, right? But it's just they pigeonhole you in a way. It's a bit like saying, like, I'm gay, I can only speak about LGBT issues. You know, because like there's more to me than this. Yeah, there's more to me than disability. That's what I was trying to say. Like, I'm into football. I know that we spoke about music before. Like, I'm into music and stuff like that. So, yeah, and I suppose that's what you're looking for at Voices for Scotland as well. Then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, it's obviously there are obviously challenges, you know, for people getting together just now. We can't do that, so we've had to move everything online. But we're really trying to create a community and a movement of people that want to share their stories and share their journey as well. And we started off this conversation talking about our journeys and how we became sort of independent supporters and, you know, activists as well. And, you know, everybody out there has got a story, and I think it's and that's what I found as well. Like doing these different meetings online, is that different parts of the country, you know, somebody up in Orkney has loads in common with somebody down in Dumfries. You know, all over the country, we all share these things in common. And I say that, I think I'm probably going to say this every single time we do this podcast, because it's something that I say a lot when I have conversations about independence. I'm speaking to my neighbour downstairs, who doesn't support independence actually, but I'm working on him. But it's the thing about it is it doesn't matter where we live, you know, how much money we've got in bank account, the colour of our skin, our religion, or anything. We all want the same things, essentially. We all want to live in a safe society. We all want a good environment we don't want to have to worry about money. We don't want to have to worry about putting food on the table. We want to breathe clean air. We want to have good public transport. All these sorts of things. We all want the same things. And the question that I put to people is, you know, how do we get those things? We don't have them right now. How do we get those things? For me, independence is the best opportunity to achieve that. It's the best opportunity to achieve it in the quickest way, and with the public having the most involvement and the most engagement in how we do it as well, because that's just as important as doing it. The way that the system works right now isn't working for people. Clearly, we wouldn't have to have a conversation about food banks. We wouldn't have to have a conversation about inequality. We wouldn't have to have a conversation about the privatisation of the NHS, about public transport, if we had all the things that we need, not just want, but we need as a society. So that's what I say to a lot of people, is we all essentially want the same thing. What's the best way to get that? And for me, it's independence.
It's a bit like saying, you know, I've said this to a few people, but, you know, and it might be funny what I'm going to say, but obviously behind that, there's a serious message. Like, if you want to go to your bed and wake up the next day in the same world, or else if you want to go to bed and wake up with a brand new world, with your own freedoms and your own choices and control as well. I know that's a bit of a stupid way of putting it, but I think you might know where I'm going with that. That kind of like sum up what I was trying to say there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's the thing, is that each one of us has the ability to make change happen. And for various reasons, we don't feel empowered to do that. And that could be because we don't feel like we've got a voice, or because life's just bloody difficult sometimes, and you don't have the time to write a letter to an MSP because you're working all day and then you come home to kids or whatever. So sometimes life just gets in the way of you being able to enact the change, the possibility that you have. But we all have it. It's just that, and I don't know. I guess one thing that I'd really like to achieve with independence is for people, not with independence, sorry, with Voices for Scotland, is for people to feel like they own the campaign a bit, and that they are. If they want to be part of it, they can be, as much or as little as they like. They can be involved, but there's a space for them to talk about the things that are important to them. And it's not just, and it's not just for people that are like already independent supporters. It's people who are like a bit unsure, that have got questions, that want to know more. If you're undecided, then it's this is probably a great place for you to come and talk about it. I'm not really in the business of like trying to absolutely persuade people like this is the best thing, because what I think is really important is that people have the information and they can make a decision for themselves.
That's a fair way of putting it.
Yeah. Say that again, sorry?
That's a kind of fair way of putting it, Yeah.
But it's not just about information. Like I don't mean information like, well, it'll cost X amount and this is what will happen with. So I don't like we can talk about currency and we can talk about the economics of it all. We can talk about numbers and percentages and all the rest of it, and that's fine. Like, if people want that information, they can have that. But what I think people want to hear is other stories. Is there reasons for supporting it as well? Like, we talk about like inequality and stuff like that, and we talked about all various different issues. We didn't mention numbers once. We talked about what was important to us, and we talked about the opportunity that can come from independence. And I think that's really powerful, and that's the stories that people want to hear.
But I mean, as well, that you can convince people up to a point, actually, right, what you said there. But if you were doing the same thing in live Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 in your job and going, and I suddenly meet with you to, meet with you through your work and stuff like that. And I was saying, Alan, see that bit. Do you not know that you could make that a bit easier by doing a different bit? And then you would say, "Oh, I never thought about that." And
Yeah.
then, but as soon as I think that, then you say to yourself, maybe Michael or whoever it was right. Maybe, you know what you mean. You're in your, what I'm trying to say is you're in your own world, you're in your own bubble, basically. But when
Yeah.
somebody comes along to tell you that's not right, you should do that, and no, that put that over there,
Yeah.
then you really think, well, how did I not think about that before?
No, totally.
You know, it's a bit like when that woman was saying to me about, you're a journalist,
Yeah.
and I was like that. You know what? She's bloody right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what I mean about the whole kind of the independence kind of movement and all that.
No, that you're so right. Is that we all whether we like to admit it or not, we all do live in some sort of bubble. I mean, we we tend to socialize with people that are like us. They live in the same sort of socioeconomic circles as us. But I think that's the beauty of getting people together to sort of have conversations and share stories, is that you'll see a lot of similarities in that, but you'll also see slight differences as well, and it makes you it gives you the opportunity to see things from a different perspective, because the other thing about that is that you're hearing these stories from people that are like you. You're not hearing them from a politician or a journalist or a commentator that you've heard a million times before, and you're never really quite sure about what their ulterior motive is. With a politician being the perfect example, they can tell you one thing, but what they actually saying or what they actually thinking. Whereas this, we're bringing people together.
I mean, I think the perfect example now is if you watch Nicola Sturgeon's daily news conferences, and some of the journalists, and I'm not going to mention the journalists because you might know what ones are good and what ones are bad. Maybe the old bag, apart from me.
Of course.
But you watch that and you say to yourself, are they asking the question because of the politics, or is it because they're actually working for like a newspaper or whatever? So it's a difficult kind of one, and most times I would say like he's asking for it because they're not okay, they want to ask it because they're journalists and they want to get to the kind of like number one, or else maybe are they doing it because they're a kind of person as well and they don't believe what, or maybe they don't like the SNP full stop, or there's a million and one reasons it could be.
There are, and I suppose a lot of what it comes down to is, I mean, it depends who that journalist happens to be writing for. At the end of the day, that person is a journalist. They're doing a job, and they're doing a job for their employer. So if that employer happens to be Rupert Murdoch's publications, then you've got a fair idea of what they're going to be talking about and the line of questioning and where that's going to go. So that's the thing. I mean, political parties obviously, but journalists and publications as well. A lot of the time they might be saying things and they might be writing things, but it's very much directed from up above, the management and stuff like that, or political party hierarchy. But I think that's why it's so important that there is a civic campaign, a civic movement, which puts the power over to people to make a campaign themselves. And I guess that's what myself and my colleague Clara are really here to do, is to support that and guide it. It's not for us to prescribe different policy positions on different things. It's for us just to be here to sort of guide the campaign, but be a platform for the things that are important to people across Scotland.
Okay, well, that's cool. We could go on and on and on.
I know, man. I know. I'm thinking that same. I don't know if you can hear it, but the bin lorries outside. It's really really loud. It's just.
Right, yeah.
So,
Remember the bin lorries telling us to stop what you're doing and stuff. So I think that the idea was for us to do this, and we could do more, and maybe through time we might interview people that's kind of sitting on the fence and doesn't. And this is a good platform because everybody's kind of like doing this, and no matter what organisation it is, independents, whatever, disability organisations, they're doing video vlogs and podcasting and stuff like that. Yeah. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you get a bit out of it about for Voices of Scotland, and you check them out on the website. They're on Facebook and Twitter as well. And come back for more soon. Thanks for watching.